It's a new year, which means the NBA All-Star Game is just a month away, and fans can finally vote for their 5 starters in the Western and Eastern Conference. Mind you, the NBA fan vote isn't as important as it once was, considering it also has to go up against the NBA players' votes and the media votes. Just like last year, the All-Star Game is a little bit different, where there's 2 team captains and they're able to pick from each respective conference pool. Long story short, let's get started with the Western Conference starters, where there is 2 guards and 3 front court players. The 3 front court players I have being voted into the All-Star starting lineup is obviously LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, while the 2 guards I have Stephen Curry and James Harden. Solid 5 guys to pick from if you're the team captain. Before we get into the West reserves, let's talk about the East starting 5. The 3 front court players I have, Giannis, Kawhi, and Embiid, while the 2 backcourt players being Kyrie Irving, and I feel a more controversial Cinderella story pick would be Kemba Walker. They are playing in Charlotte. Kemba Walker is not really a popular guy when it comes to getting fan votes, but maybe this year he's been balling out. He's been putting the league on notice. Hopefully he gets that starting spot. It makes sense. Let's stay in the East before we jump back to the Western Conference. Let's talk about the reserves. I'm not exactly sure how they do it, if it's 2 backcourt and then 3 front court and then 2 wild cards, but I'm just going to go how they had it last year, where they had 4 guards and 3 front court players from the reserves. Victor Oladipo, he's leading the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference. I believe they're the 3rd seed right now. Was the most improved player last year and made it to the first All-Star game, and I feel like this is going to be his 2nd All-Star game appearance. Statistically, he hasn't had a great year compared to last year, but he's been injured. He's just getting back. The team is winning, and I feel like coaches reward winning. Next, I have Jimmy Butler making the reserves list in the Eastern Conference pool. He really was the heart and soul of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and now with the Philadelphia 76ers, he's taking them over the edge, and come playoff time, he should be a vital part of their success there. It'll be interesting to see if any Minnesota Timberwolves player is in the All-Star game and they somehow end up on the same team. Moving on, we have Bradley Beal, who made his first All-Star appearance last year as well, just like Victor Oladipo, and is having a quiet year but also a loud year because he plays for the Washington Wizards and they're just god-awful right now and dysfunctional. It's going to be interesting to see if Bradley Beal can make it 2 years in a row, considering the Washington Wizards aren't winning, but he is the lone bright spot for the Wizards. He seems to have the highest trade value, and it'll be interesting to see if the Wizards trade him now with John Wall going down with knee surgery for the remainder of the season. Next up, we have Kyle Lowry, who is my wild card. I have 2 wild cards. The next player we'll be talking about is also a wild card. But Kyle Lowry, he started off the year hot, team high in assists, but he's quietly fallen off a little bit. The Raptors love their basketball team, and I'd say Kyle Lowry has a good chance of making the All-Star game as a starter, but if he doesn't, I feel like coaches will vote him in to the reserves list just based off name alone. And honestly, this might be Kyle Lowry's last All-Star game. He's getting up there in age and he isn't as productive as he once was. Moving on to the front court, our front court wild card player is Nikola Vucevic. He's having a career year with the Orlando Magic, and the Orlando Magic are actually almost winning this season. You know, they're in and out of the playoffs as an 8 seed. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. If he gets traded at trade deadline, he is a free agent. He's probably going to want some money. So the Magic should sell high, but in reality, they're the Magic and we have no idea what they're going to do. But a Magic player deserves it. We really are living in 2019, if I've said that. Moving on to the last 2 front court players, I have Blake Griffin, who's having a career year with the Detroit Pistons. He's finally been healthy for a good majority of the season. Fingers crossed stays that way. And although the Pistons are only an 8 seed so far this early on in the season, Blake Griffin screams All-Star game type player. With his flashy dunks, he's meant to be in the All-Star game. Last but not least, his teammate Andre Drummond, who made it last year as well. And if he does make it again, it would be his 3rd All-Star appearance, just like Blake Griffin. He's having a career year in numbers, but at the same time, they both play for the Pistons, and the Pistons don't really have that much of a roster. Looking at my complete Eastern Conference pool of players, it looks like the biggest snub might be Ben Simmons. And it's not really that big of a snub in the Eastern Conference. Let me know what other players I've missed that are having great years in the East that could replace one of these guys. But honestly, it could be Ben Simmons, even though if he can't shoot a 3 to save his life. Maybe he'll shoot some 3s in the All-Star game. That'd be a perfect time to do it. Moving on to the Western Conference reserve pool, starting off with the backcourt. We have Demar Derozan, the Spurs' only All-Star. Last year it was LaMarcus Aldridge. This year it looks to be Demar Derozan, and he's not with the Raptors anymore, so he's definitely not getting those fan votes like he used to. Solid choice. Still a top 15 player in the league. Next we have Russell Westbrook, averaging a triple-double currently still. This is going to be 3 years in a row if Russell Westbrook pulls it off, averaging a triple-double. Although his numbers step back a little bit, he's let Paul George take some control, and Paul George is having an all-star year as well, which we'll be talking about him in a little bit. From one elite guard to another, Damian Lillard, he's been carrying the Blazers year in, year out. The Blazers are the real deal, even though they got swept last year in the playoffs. Damian Lillard is no longer underrated. You know, I see a lot of people calling Dame underrated. I feel like his all-star snubs really got people going, saying, oh, he's underrated, he's underrated. But when you make it 4 all-star games, you're not underrated anymore. You're big time. Now on to the 2 wild cards. My wild card for the guard position is Klay Thompson. He's okay, you know. He's doing great for the Warriors. He sometimes disappears, but is he deserving of an all-star spot this year? He just seems a little bit inconsistent at times this season, even though if he did drop 60 points. You know what? Never mind. I completely forgot about that. I guess he's an all-star. Now the forward wild card pick I got is Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris and the Clippers are winning. Tobias Harris having a career year. Like I said, usually teams, coaches reward winning. It'd be nice to see. It would give Tobias Harris probably a juicy contract in the offseason, and hopefully he stops bouncing around from team to team. Moving on, we mentioned him earlier. Let's talk about Paul George. This would be his 6th All-Star appearance, and last year was crazy because he wasn't even going to make the All-Star team if it wasn't for injuries, and a lot of people were saying Victor Oladipo is a better player than Paul George already. But this year, Paul George, you know, he made that noise quiet down a little bit. Career season for Paul George. Next up, we have Nicole Yogesh. His first All-Star appearance. The Denver Nuggets are winning just like Tobias Harris's. Clippers reward winning Jokic. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. My 2 biggest snubs in the West have to go to either Karl-Anthony Towns. I didn't mention Towns, but the Minnesota Timberwolves aren't winning. And then Mike Conley or Marc Gasol. Mike Conley, Marc Gasol. The Grizzlies in general, just always big snubs when it comes to the All-Star game. But Towns, if he doesn't make it, in reality, he probably will replace guys like Tobias Harris. But I'd hope not. I hope the rosters I have are accurate unless an injury happened, which I hope it doesn't. So those are my Eastern and Western All-Star players. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who did I leave out? Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Share the video around, click on some of these other videos, subscribe, all that. New year, new me. Not really, same me. Thank you for watching.